Turn to 3.
Positive rotation. Ignition. You guys have a nice flight. We'll see you back here.
Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Coming up, Mr. Ken Stevens, formerly Senior Master Sergeant Ken Stevens, talks with troops from the 126th Operations Group about going it alone. Coming up in this week's Look Around, the Air Force Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General C.Q. Brown, makes it clear that multiple capable airmen are important to his future operating concept. Recently, the 126th Operations Group went to Savannah, Georgia for hands-on training. 126th Public Affairs, Ken Stevens, spent the week talking to airmen on the deployment for training. Lieutenant Colonel Brent Smith, Operations Group Chief of Standards and Evaluations, tells Ken about the group's mission in Georgia and says it's not a regular DFT.
We have brought 2 KC-135s and almost the entire ops group to Hunter Army Field in Savannah, Georgia, and we're operating 2 KC-135s out there doing refuelings over basically the panhandle of Florida, refueling various fighters, and we've been here, we're going to end up doing that 3 days out of the 5-day work week, and about it.
Now we've also been doing some training here. Can you explain to us about the type of training that the people are receiving?
Absolutely. So operating 2 KC-135s out of Hunter Army Field is nothing cosmic normally. In fact, they do a big exercise here called Century Savannah once a year. 2 to 4 tankers refueling 40 to 50 fighters, 4 lines a day over the course of 2 weeks. Big offloads, a lot of refueling going on. It's a great exercise. So when people think of us coming here with 2 KC-135s, on the surface, it's not something that is out of the ordinary. But what we've done is in kind of preparation for future events, in line with General Minahan's memo, we're taking our aircrew and we're putting them outside of their comfort zone, which is what he stresses we should be doing. If you're comfortable in your training, you're not doing it right. So what we've done is we've brought the operations group here to Savannah, Georgia. We're operating out of Hunter Army Field, and we've taken away all the tools that crews normally have access to. I don't want to get into the specifics about the scenarios that we created to do that, but what I will tell you is that we have taken away their GDSS access. So they don't have their normal crew papers that they would have. They don't have access to weather. For our SARM troops that are here, we actually brought SARM with us. They don't have access to GTEMs, so they can't pull products from GTEMs. We've simulated outages, have prevented them from using the normal tools that they use on a day-to-day basis. There's various reasons for that, but again, we're taking them outside their comfort zone. We've also given them mission-type orders that have been simulated so that if they do have questions and they can't reach C2 nodes, they know what to do if something happens. And what this is doing is it's forcing them to plan every single mission themselves. So the crews are getting together the day prior and planning their missions. They're doing self-plan, self-file. They're finding their own weather products. They're calling the receivers themselves, and they're going out and they're doing the mission. And those are just some of the things that we're doing here. We've also brought AFE with us. So we're doing some chemical environment training. In fact, we have an aircraft landing today at 13:15, and we're going to process them through a line to a decontamination line while they're wearing their aircrew battle ensemble. That's another thing that we're doing. One of the most interesting things I think that we did was a proof of concept. We've taken a off-the-shelf Starlink unit, and I'd like to thank the 375th Operations Group for loaning that to us. And we took that equipment and plugged it into the power of the KC-135, and we set up a Starlink on the ramp. And by doing that, we were able to successfully establish communication with the satellite and link up a mission planning computer to that satellite and have internet, as well as several iPads so that we were able to establish connectivity through our iPads. And what this shows is that if we were somewhere in an austere environment where we didn't have access to C2 and we were operating off of mission type orders, we could establish communications with command and control and basically get an update on what's going on and direction from C2 authority. I think that was proving that we can do that was very successful, and the crews were able to do it with very little training. They didn't have any, in fact, the manual wasn't in the box for the Starlink, but we were able to figure out, get the satellites established and move forward. Again, it's just taking us out of our comfort zone of what we normally do on a day-to-day basis and taking away the tools that are normally accessible to us, because in a high-end fight, most likely we're not going to have those tools available to us.
Okay, so yeah, it sounds like you're trying to kind of downscale your resources. What specifically, what kind of tasks are affected by what kind of tasks are you expanding into in your training that you would normally do?
Again, it's basically taking them outside of their comfort zone. So the crews are very comfortable with taking the paperwork that's normally provided to them and the websites and all the access to the mission planning paperwork that they normally have and going out and doing the mission. By taking all that away from them, we're forcing them to do all that themselves, the things that they're not comfortable with, such as pulling out a mission planning computer and planning making an actual flight plan, a 200, if you will, using jump software. Because a lot of our DSGs, our current ops shop normally plans the missions for them so they can show up and they can go do the refueling missions. And by making them do that, we're kind of taking the skills that we know that they have, but they're a little rusty, and we're kind of sharpening that blade and making sure that they're fine-tuned to do things like that. So those are some of the things that we're doing to help create this environment that we've done.
So how important is this to your mission, that you be able to do this? I
think it is extremely important, and the problem is that we have been, if you will, fighting for the last 20 years. I mean, obviously we're done with that, and I think we all know what we're talking about here, but we've been doing the same thing for 20 years. We've been going to Afghanistan and Iraq, doing the same refueling missions, using canned missions. Literally, I remember flying out of Afghanistan, doing canned missions where I didn't have to put any real thought into it. You figured it out after about 4 or 5 sorties, and everything was the same. It never changed. So once you got there and you had a script of what to say to get out to the areas and back, and it sounds like, oh, okay, that sounds easy. And to an aircrew member who's doing a refueling mission, sometimes it was really easy, but it became repetitive, and you become routine. It becomes a routine for you, and you become complacent. There was no challenge there after doing that for 20, 30, 40, 50 days in a row. What we're looking at now is we need to be prepared to go into austere environments where we don't have products provided to us. We need to be able to land in a remote island and do hot pit refueling, or an austere field somewhere we've never been, with no direction other than mission type orders, and figure out what we should be doing next. So we're going to lose connectivity in high-end fights. We're going to lose the ability to contact our C2, and we're going to need to know what to do next. And our aircrew need to be trained on how to do that, and that's what we're preparing for. We're trying to get ahead of anything that may happen in the future and make sure that our people are prepared for this.
And how's the team here doing?
I think they're doing fantastic. We hit the ground running on Monday. In fact, we landed here, and we had our own issues of logistics. We miscalculated how we were going to get off the flight line and get the vehicles, and we figured it out. There were a couple snafus there. We had the crews mission planning. As soon as we landed, they started mission planning and did a great formation brief and pulled out their mission planning software and started going at it. And then the next day had a very successful mission. Everyone's been in high spirits. We have a conference room at the hotel that we're doing classes on different types of things that are required for our annual training. So I've been doing a lot of that. So I'd say everybody has been taking this very serious. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. Another thing that we did do that is a little unusual is we did a class on servicing aircraft. And we've actually taken the aircrew outside to the aircraft when jets are returning, and we're launching and recovering the aircraft with aircrew members. Now, obviously, they're not doing it solo. We have them shadowing the maintenance. But we actually have aircrew members pouring the oil into the engines that we need to top off on the oil. We're actually having them watch the refueling talking with the maintenance on techniques and checklists that they are going to need to use to service an aircraft themselves, because in the future we may find ourselves in a situation where aircrew members are servicing the aircraft themselves, something that we're not used to. We're trained to it, but we don't ever do it. So we're out here actually doing that task to make sure that we've honed our skills for the future.
Senior Master Sergeant Matthew Lubeck, the superintendent of the Aircrew Flight Equipment, begins by explaining his understanding of the operations group training in Savannah.
If you are in a contested environment, or you're trying to remove yourself from a contested environment, sometimes you have to do more than just your standard job. So that is for the aircrew. A lot of times, they're used to just, hey, I get in, I fly the aircraft, the boom operator refuels, whoever needs fuel, and then we go back. Well, if they ever land someplace and there is not support entities for them, like POL or age, or there's not somebody there to help them with anything they do on the ground, they need to understand how to do that. And so that's what their primary focus was this week, is to learn those things. At least that's the way I took it.
So what is your role in this?
Well, the aircrew flight equipment came out this week we sat through some classes, because if we ever go anywhere as a unit, typically we have to bring everybody, and we are one of the support entities. And I think it's beneficial for the shop and the other airmen to understand that we may be pulled into situations where we're doing things we're not used to as well. We may have to marshal an aircraft. We may have to help a crew chief replace a part. We may have to refuel if necessary. So I've had the shop sit through some of the trainings and make sure that we are understanding where this is going and where the wing wants to go and the military is going. But the primary reason we were here is so we can conduct the aircrew contamination control area, which is the decon process. If we ever land in a contested environment where there's chemicals, the aircrew can then land and be, cleaned, reconstituted to go fly another mission at a later date and time.
Let me back up a little bit. What is AFE?
Aircrew flight equipment is all the support equipment that's on the aircraft, like the escape slide off the tail of the aircraft, or the rafts. If we ever, heaven forbid, land in water, there's flotation devices for each individual, and there's the emergency oxygen. So if you ever lose cabin pressure, they have the emergency oxygen there, so you can put one of those on to be able to breathe until the aircraft comes down to a normalized level where the cabin pressure's more even. But that's what we do, is we ensure that in the event of an emergency, the pilots or the passengers on board should hopefully be able to escape safely and make sure that everybody can survive until the real help arrives, I guess.
It sounds a little important.
Yes, I think it is, yes.
Okay. So how do you think your team's doing?
I think they're good. We're a little shorthanded this week with only 4 of us. So going through the aircrew contamination control area, that's a little difficult, because we probably need 7+ people to make it really function properly. But we had some help from some of the other outlying sections in the OSS. They were coming along to help us out because we knew we were shorthanded. But it worked well. Was it perfect? No. But it's a learning process, and I think we'll get better each time we do it.
So aside from the manning, which I think everyone's short manned right now, are there any other challenges you come up against this week?
Nothing job really related. No, I mean, finding which place is the best to get dinner is usually the hardest thing right now. But no, job related. No, we go out each day and we do the things we have to do with the jet each day to make sure the jet's ready to fly. And they're out there, they're flying their missions, they're coming back, and I'm not hearing of any issues that concern us, so that's always good. We don't want that. But other than that, no, just making sure that we were prepared for this ACCA today to go off with as best as we could.
Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford, an air refueling wing specialist, aka a boomer, explains how the Agility Combat Employment training is helping her become a multi-capable airman.
Basically, this is just a way for us to project ourselves forward and prove that we are able to be agile within any environment, and we are able to project forward and still be mobile and functional in any environment.
So what does that really mean?
It means that at a moment's notice, we are able to pick up, move anywhere that we could possibly land our aircraft and be able to still do our job, maintain the aircraft, and turn and continue to do operations as necessary.
So you're operator, you're the air crew.
Yes.
You get the planes in the air,
Yes.
but you don't fix the planes. You don't service the planes.
Very true.
So if you go to somewhere without maintenance or a very limited maintenance facility, this does what for you?
This allows us to be able to take some of those fundamental core tasks that like your crew chiefs would do as far as servicing oil or hydraulics or putting fuel on the aircraft and help make the air crew have more well-rounded knowledge that allows us to be able to do those things in an environment where we maybe not necessarily have maintainers with us to keep the mission moving forward and not stop us in our tracks.
So we're not talking like you guys go out there with a whole toolbox and tear the plane apart.
No, we're talking basic maintenance functions that will keep the aircraft flying. So more of your lower level maintenance things.
Sure. Just checking under the hood type stuff.
Yes, exactly.
How do you see this affecting your operation?
I think affecting operations, well, first of all, in the short term, we're obviously a lot more busy because we're trying to get everybody spun up and get that baseline knowledge there for everybody. But I think in the long run, it will just make us more well-rounded. I feel like it will take your essay as to what's going on and just expand that. But then also it makes you a more mobile force.
What kind of things have we covered this week while we're out here?
Well, we've actually done quite a few things. I know yesterday we were all extremely busy with learning about aircraft servicing. So we spent quite a bit of time here in the classroom environment talking about the principles of servicing, what you're looking for when you're putting fuel on the aircraft, oil, hydraulics, even defueling operations. And then we went more into the practical in the afternoon and actually went out to the flight line, caught an aircraft that had come back from doing F-22 missions out on the Gulf, I believe, and then actually put those principles that we learned into the aircraft in practice on the airplane.
So you're not just getting classroom experience, you're actually getting hands-on.
Yes. When we brought maintainers out here with us, so we brought that knowledge force of what we need to do with us so they can really give us that hands-on opportunity in a safe, contained environment.
What's been like your favorite thing to do so far? Your new thing to do?
Actually, I really enjoyed the the fueling portion of it. Just learning about how they apportion the fuel into what tanks and how everything works. I think as a boom operator, obviously we refuel other aircraft, but we don't often talk about the principles of how we get fuel on board our aircraft. And so learning the specific mechanics of it. But I love the opportunity that we have to just come out here and be together as an operations group. It's been a couple of years of COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really great to knock a lot of that rust off and come out here as a group and really get our hands dirty and learn how to do things. Yesterday, one really cool thing that we did is we actually had a Starlink satellite that we were able to link to a satellite and get Wi-Fi, which is really cool. It would actually help us out on the road a lot to be able to expand our ability to pull crew paperwork and that reach back capability with other C2 and other agencies.
What about the quality of training that you get? Do you feel really confident that you're getting enough training? Enough training that you're capable, very qualified to do these tasks?
Yeah, actually, so the way that they built the schedule, there was a lot of redundancies built into the schedule. So one day one crew might be out there flying, the next day that crew's in the classroom, and then the third day they're actually out doing the hands-on portion. So I feel like we've had multiple opportunities within the schedule to kind of see one, do one, teach one, so to speak, and over the few weeks in leading up to the DFT, we've done a lot of training surrounding that as well with cockpit refueling and aircraft servicing at home station. So this has really just been a great way for us to move it out of our comfort zone from home base and come out here and practice those things that we've set the foundation for at home.
I'm sorry, you say you have had practice at home? Okay,
so we had kind of the basic fundamentals at home. We have gone out and done some aircraft servicing stuff at home, but then we come here and we've sort of just expanded on that knowledge with the classroom work together, but then also going out and helping as they catch missions and performing those actions with the crew chiefs out there.
So this is something that you're going to continually do?
Absolutely.
To keep your proficiency.
Yeah, it's all about readiness and, that Agile Combat Employment mindset essentially and getting us ready to be mobile at any given time. I don't have the foundational knowledge for getting up there and fixing, GAC equipment, avionics equipment, sheet metal for getting out there if we have something like dents and stuff in the aircraft. But I would say if there's a way that I can be taught to do something to keep the aircraft at a minimum, getting oil on the jet, getting hydraulics on the jet in order to keep it flyable and turn it and get it home or do what needs to be done, then I think that that's a great thing to do.
Not only did Ken talk to them about the mission in Savannah, Georgia, he also asked about their time serving in the Guard. Lieutenant Colonel Brent Smith shared his career journey.
I have been in the Guard for 21 and a half years.
Have you been in Guard your whole career?
I have been. I've been with the 126th since day one.
You've been a pilot that whole time?
No, actually, I originally joined. I was in logistics. I was in petroleum, oils, and lubricants as a fuel specialist, and I did that for 5 years while I was going through college. I found out about the Air National Guard basically from a flyer that was just at Southwestern Illinois College when I was going there for a semester. I saw that, and I said, I'm going to go look into this. Looked at the education benefits that were going to be provided to me, and I decided to go ahead and sign on the dotted line and take that next step. My original plan was to do my 6-year commitment and get out with my free tuition and all my benefits that they gave me. And I actually enjoyed it so much I had planned on re-enlisting. However, right when I got done with my, after I graduated college, I saw that there was a position for a pilot. And I had been doing a little bit of, just a little bit too, of flying lessons and getting a little bit of time. And I thought, you know what, this is something I'd like to try. So I applied to the position, and I was fortunate enough to be selected for it. And that just completely changed the course of my life because I never intended on being a pilot. I never intended on being in the Guard more than 6 years. Here I am 21 and a half years later. I've been flying KC-135s for over 15 years, and I love every second of it. So I could see myself doing that probably for another 6 to 7 years.
What, as far as flying your KC-135, what are some of the places you've been to?
I have been to a lot of places. My favorite place to go is Germany. I've been there several times. Obviously been to Hawaii several times, Guam several times. I've been to Afghanistan, literally on the ground with a KC-135 for 60 days, 2 deployments doing that. But we also have done fun stuff. I mean, here we are at Hunter Army Field in Savannah, Georgia. And although we're getting great training out of this, I mean, there are times to go out and sightsee and do things. So been all around the world. Too many places to even count.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being here, sharing your thoughts with us, and good luck on your training.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford reveals her education plans and explains some of the benefits and perks that she's taken advantage of while being in the Air National Guard.
Found out this morning, we were talking, and you are finishing a college degree?
I am. I'm working on my degree right now.
And what degree is that?
Intelligence studies.
Intelligence study.
Yes.
So you're a boom operator, and you do that full-time?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
I'm
you're a
ATR.
full-time guardsman. Yes. Intelligence degree help you in that job?
Well, I just started my class on Monday, but I think expanding your knowledge in any area is a great thing to bring. We're transitioning into new environments. There's always emerging threats out there, and so I think having a degree with some kind of intelligence background and stuff could be useful in any environment.
What made you choose that area of study?
Honestly, I'm just fascinated with that line of work, and I chose it because just from a surface level, I'm fascinated by it, which made me want to dive deeper into it. So I thought to myself, you know what, if I'm going to go to school, I want to get it in something that I'm interested in. And so it drew me in. And so far, like I said, I'm a week into classes. I'm really fascinated by it.
So the Guard Illinois Guard especially, has a lot of benefits for schooling?
Yeah, we are one of the, I think, few states, Illinois, that is 100% tuition. If you do a 6-year enlistment, you get 100% of your school benefits paid for. And that was my main reason for joining the Guard, actually, was originally education benefits, and then I wanted to travel. So I have gotten those two things in spades. Now, I took a huge gap between when I was going to school like 15 years ago and now. I'm proof in the pudding that it's never too late to go back and get your degree. But traveling in spades, being a boom operator, I feel like I've gotten to travel all over the world and see amazing places and meet new people and visit wonderful cultures. And it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, I appreciate your spending some time with us today and talk about this. Thank you. Good luck with your studies.
Thanks.
Senior Master Sergeant Matt Lubeck talks about the various positions he's held while serving.
I know that this is not the first job you've had in the Guard.
No, sir.
How many jobs have you had?
1, 2, 3, 5. This is number 5.
Wow, more than me even. So what's the advantage of that? What caused you to kind of think, okay, I spent enough time doing this, now I want to do that, now I want to do, what's behind all that?
Sometimes it's career progression. You got to move to, if you want to see future growth, or and sometimes it's a job it just gets to a point where like I need something different, and then other times where with my wife being in the wing, I was told that if I don't move my job, I will hold her up, and so I was like, okay, I guess I better go find another job somewhere else. So I didn't want to do that. So. But I'm not actively searching out new jobs. It's just if a situation popped up and I knew about it and I was like, I think that'd be interesting, I would apply and, hope for the best.
So the guard process has been that difficult to train into another job, or is it fairly?
I guess it just depends. Sometimes you get lucky and you're the only applicant. If that's the case, then you win by default. Sometimes, it's, I guess the benefit of being in the Guard a lot of time is you're around people for a long time. And if you do a good job routinely and you go to work and you have a smile on your face and you're out there working hard, people take notice. And then so if you do apply for a job that is outside of your normal realm and the selecting official is somebody you just happen to have worked for before, and they're like, I'm willing to give this individual a chance because I like their attitude and I like the effort they put in when whatever task they're doing. So I think that just having a good attitude and going out and putting in the work can open a lot of doors in the Guard. I think, and I think it's beneficial. I think it doesn't matter what rank you're on. You just go out and you enjoy it, or at least act like you enjoy it, and work hard. A lot of good things can happen.
I think that's about it.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall is emphasizing the need to modernize and reshape air and space forces to confront China and other emerging powers.
We are united in our commitment to modernizing the air and space forces and achieving the transformation we must have to be competitive with our pacing challenge. China, China, China.
As part of that transformational push, Kendall says older platforms are being divested, while the department's budget for the next fiscal year includes close to 20 new efforts. He spoke at the AFA Warfare Symposium in Colorado. Chief of Staff of the Air Force General C.Q. Brown Jr. announced the Air Force Future Operating Concept also at the Warfare Symposium. The concept ensures long-range planning that intentionally links to joint warfighting.
As airmen, we must think differently about how we fight, and win. With accelerate, change, or lose, we need to think about the speed, the agility, and lethality we have that will be force multipliers. We must adapt. We cannot do this by ourselves. In order to be successful, we've got to work together.
Brown says collaboration within and throughout the defense ecosystem is the key to success in U.S. Joint Force modernization efforts. Potential Air Force recruits now have more incentive to join, thanks to the reinstatement of the Enlisted College Loan Repayment Program. Eligible recruits can apply for up to $65,000 in repayments. Their enlisted contract has to be under the program, and they have to complete 3-level skill training in their specialty to get the benefit. Initial enlistment bonuses are also back for high-demand career fields. That's your look around the Air Force. I'm Staff Sergeant Jasmine Granger.
A reminder that it's tax season, and if you haven't filed yet, you owe it to yourself to check out Military One Source. It includes free, easy-to-use tax prep. Me and my wife, we use it every year and never really had any major problems. If we did have a problem, quote-unquote a problem, if we had a question, we wanted to define something, we just called Military One Source. I'll put a link to Military One Source in the description of this podcast. If you are having thoughts of suicide or know someone in a mental health crisis, call the Military Crisis Line, 988. That's 988. You can press 1. You can also text them as well. You can find all of our links on Linktree. That's linktr.ee/. .ee/126.arw. If you're watching on YouTube, or in this case, listening on YouTube, you can also download this on your favorite podcast app. If you want to pass along some information, you can email roll call at 126.arw.pa.mm.org@us.af.mil. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Master Sergeant Brian Ellison.
100.